Once again, brothers and sisters, it's good to be with you. Good to be with you on what they call Monday evening. I'm your host, the Apostle Reuben of IUPR Bible Radio, podcasting out of Little Rock, Arkansas, to the true saints of the Most High God. Well, brothers and sisters, I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this to you personally. There's not one Christian out here that can debunk a Hebrew Israelite when it comes to the Gentiles. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. Not one of them can debunk the Hebrews when it comes to the subject of the Gentiles. They can't. What they do is they try to either avoid what we bring out or carnally bring it out of their own head. That's what they're going to do every time. And see, the weak in faith fall for that, but you do. You don't. Those that read this word, they don't fall for that, because you know the secret. And we're about to read the secret now. This verse here in the Bible, written by Paul, to me is the best verse in the Bible. Second one is Nehemiah 8:8. But this one here carries a lot of power, and I love it. The book of 1 Corinthians 4:6. And these things, brethren, I have in a figure transferred to myself and to Apollos, because that's who Paul was always with, Apollos, for your sakes, that ye might learn in us not to think of man above that which is written. You cannot think of what a man says above that which is written. And that is what Christianity is about. Thinking of men above that which is written. And they're going to have their day for that. Whatever is written, brothers and sisters, that's what you have to take. It can't be what anybody says. It has to be written. Constantly written. Let me give you an example. We're going into it now. John 7. John 7. Verse 33. We're starting here. Then said the Messiah unto them, Yet a little while am I with you, and then I go unto him that sent me. Back to the Father. You shall seek me and shall not find me, and where I am, thither you cannot come. Oh, here we go. Then said the Jews among themselves, Whither will he go, that we shall not find him? Will he go unto the dispersed among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles? So there was a dispersed among the Gentiles that were Gentiles. Now the question is, brothers and sisters, who were dispersed among the Gentiles? It has to be written. It's whatever's written. The Bible has inside of what they call the First Testament testimony of who these dispersed are. So I want to go to Isaiah 11. Real quick, Isaiah 11. Verse 10. And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people, and to it shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glorious. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people. His people. Now, to do this, let's do this. I want y'all to pay attention. Watch what we do real quick. Watch this. Isaiah 11 verse 10, because I want to further prove this. I want to further, because these Christians, if they think for a second that we don't have 9-10 ways to do this, they're wrong. We do. But I'm going to read something again. And I want you to pay close attention to this. The book of Isaiah 11 and 10. And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people. To it shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glorious. Now, let's go over 3 chapters. Let's go over 3 chapters to Isaiah 14. Pay attention. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land. And strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave unto the house of Jacob. The strangers are the Israelites that did not keep the law. We're going back over it, brothers and sisters. We went over it once, but this time we're going to magnify it. We're going to show you who those strangers are. And we're going to show you that there will not be anybody else coming in that land. I have 8 scriptures to prove it. They can't touch us. We got the proof. We'll read it. We're going to get some of these guys out of the way. When we do these podcasts, they're coming up. Isaiah 14 and 2. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place. And the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids. And they shall take them captives, whose captives they were. That's the other nations. That's why it says, and there's a servant and handmaid, and they shall take them captives, whose captives they were. Whose captives were we? Edom. And they shall rule over their oppressors. Here it is. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrow. Now, wait a minute now. Hold on now. So the rest is for Israel. The rest is for Israel. The rest is for Israel, right? Let me read that again. Isaiah 14 and 3. And it shall come to pass in the day that the Lord shall give thee rest. It didn't say he was giving Gentiles rest there. It said Israel will receive rest. Bible can't say 2 different things, brothers and sisters. It cannot. And it shall come to pass in the day that the Lord shall give thee, the thee is Israel, rest from thy sorrow, and from thy fear, and from the hard bondage wherein thou wast made to serve. So the Bible prophesies Israel getting rest. Hey, wait. Book of Jeremiah. Jeremiah 30. That's about witness. We don't care what you say. Jeremiah 30 and verse 10. Therefore fear thou not, O my servant Jacob, saith the Lord. Neither be dismayed, O Israel. Israel now, not the nations, not the Gentiles. For lo, I will save thee from afar, and thy seed from the land of their captivity, and Jacob shall return and be at rest, and be quiet, and none shall make him afraid. The Bible does not prophesy nations getting into the rest. Israel, chapter and verse. let's go back to Isaiah 11. Isaiah 11. In verse 10. And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people. And to it shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glorious. Where do we see the Gentiles getting into his rest? Where did we see? Did we read that? Did we read it? Isaiah 14:3, Israel was going to get the rest. Jeremiah 30:10, Israel get the rest. Hey, Psalms 132. This book has to be, this book was written to be read. Let me read on down. I'll start right here. Psalms 132:9. Let thy priests be clothed with righteousness, with the law, and let thy saints, which are the children of Israel, shout for joy. Psalms 148:14, Psalms 50:5. The children of Israel are the saints. For thy servant David's sake, turn not away the face of thine anointed. Watch this now. The Lord has sworn in truth unto David, he will not turn from it. Of the fruit of thy body will I set upon thy throne. And if thy children will keep my covenant and my testimonies that I shall teach them, their children shall also sit upon thy throne forevermore. Pay attention now. For the Lord hath chosen Zion. He hath desired it for his habitation. This is my rest forever. Here will I dwell, for I have desired it. His rest is with Israel. He has chosen Zion. It's not just talking about the place, it's talking about the people along with the place. Based on verse 12. Can't leave out verse 12. It's the children right along with the place. This is his rest. The nations aren't getting into his rest. The other nations are not getting in. That's why we know when we go back to Isaiah, it takes verses, brothers. So you can't just believe in one verse and skip others. That's what these Christians do. Isaiah 11:10. And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign to the people. To it shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glorious. That's how we know these Gentiles is who is about to be described in verse 11. And it shall come to pass that in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, and from Egypt, and from Pathros, and from Cush, and from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the isles of the sea. Hold on now, let's look at this now. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. Dispersed. All of this is together, brothers and sisters. Those dispersed, the Gentiles in verse 10 were the dispersed Judites from the four corners of the earth, and Israelites. They were dispersed. We're talking about what's written. So we go back to John just real quick. I want you to forget the thought because I went left there a little bit trying to describe a few things. John 7:35, I want you to take a look at the key word. The key word. And the Jews said among themselves, whither will he go? Well, whither will he go that we shall not find him? Will he go unto the dispersed among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles? The book of Isaiah 11:10. And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for the ensign of the people. To it shall the Gentiles seek, and its rest shall be glorious. Now we know that how can the Bible say three chapters, with verses? Psalms 132, 9 through 14, Isaiah 14:3, Jeremiah 30:10. The Bible describes rest for Israel only. It's not that hard. Zephaniah, let me give you one more. Zephaniah. These prophets saw the deliverance of Israel. The book of Zephaniah 3, verse 15, we're just going to read on down. The Lord hath taken away thy judgments. He hath cast out thine enemy. The King of Israel, even the Lord, is in the midst of thee. Thee is Israel. Thou shalt not see evil any more. We shall no more be cursed. In that day it shall be said to Jerusalem, fear thou not. And to Zion, let not thy hands be slack. The Lord thy God is in the midst of thee. Wait a minute, let me read that again. The Lord thy God in the midst of thee is mighty. He will save. He will rejoice over thee with joy. He will rest in his love. He will joy over thee with singing. The rest has Israel there. The rest of God, the rest that's coming is not for the nations. You can't have all these verses piled up against the one verse they believe. So that's what we're saying. Too many verses. We got the verses. We got more verses. We hold them until they come. We're waiting for them. So in Isaiah 11, the Bible is not going to say two different things, brothers and sisters. I'm sorry. It's not going to say two different things. Everything is consistent, like the prophets we just read about. That we just read. Excuse me. Let me get my words straight. We read from David. We read from Isaiah. We read from Jeremiah. We read from Zephaniah. That the rest, Israel, is going to be there only, not the nations. But in Isaiah 11:10, and in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people. To it shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glorious. So, which Gentiles is going to be in his rest? We just read that only Israel will be in the rest. We read it. Future prophecy. They always about, oh no, those were at different times, different places. To be at rest and none shall make him afraid in Jeremiah 30:10 is when Christ returns. We don't care about what they say. The damage control. The Gentiles that are going to be in the rest is in verse 11 and 12. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people. His people were the Gentiles in verse 10. Which shall be left from Assyria, from Egypt, and from Pathros, and from Cush, and from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the isles of the sea. Read along. And as well as he shall set up an ensign for the nations. The nations is Gentiles. It's the same thing. As well as assemble the house of Israel and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. The dispersed. The dispersed in verse 12, which was Judah, was the Gentile in verse 10. There's no Bible verse they can use that says nations were dispersed among nations. No, let's get Ezekiel 12. Ezekiel 12. Once again, verse 10. Then I'm going to drop down to verse 15. Say thou unto them, thus saith the Lord God, this burden concerneth the prince of Jerusalem and all the house of Israel that are among them, which means there were remnants of northern kingdom in Judah before Babylon came and took Judah. Remnants of northern kingdom was with the Jews. That's why in Nehemiah it records all of them came out of captivity. Remnants. But I want to drop down to verse 15. And they shall know that I am the Lord when I scatter them among the nations, the Gentiles, and disperse them in the countries. Disperse. Disperse. Dispersed. Easy. He's going to say it again in Ezekiel 20:23. I lifted up mine hand unto them, the them is Israel, in the wilderness, that I would scatter them among the heathen and disperse them through the countries. Who is being dispersed among the Gentiles? This is the same thing. I will scatter them among the Gentiles and disperse them through the countries. When we read about the dispersed, the Israelites, they're the dispersed. They're the dispersed. So when we go back to John 7:35, we're arguing with Christians. They don't have chapter and verse to prove who that dispersed is. We do, because we know it. That's why when you look, then said the Jews among themselves, whither will he go that we shall not find him? Will he go unto the dispersed among the Gentiles? There was a dispersed among the Gentiles. Who was it according to what was written? Israel. And teach the Gentiles. Why were the dispersed called Gentiles? Why were these dispersed, which were Israelites, according to chapter and verse, called Gentiles? Let's go to Romans 9:4 again, and then 1 Corinthians 12:2. Romans 9. Verse 3 and 4. For I could wish that myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh, who are Israelites. We're going to stop right there, brothers and sisters. Christians cannot prove to you that nations call other nations brethren. It's not there. It's not in the law. There's no law that says that. No law. You will not find that in the law. Nowhere. We already know. Your brethren, your kinsmen according to the flesh, are your people. Paul's brethren and kinsmen according to his flesh, his body, was Israel. Not Moab, not Ammon, not the Jebusite, not the Hittite, doggone show, not the Edomite. He says his brethren and his kinsmen according to the flesh was an Israelite. So Paul's brethren are Israelites. So when we go to 1 Corinthians, see, brothers and sisters, these Christians want to try to razzle-dazzle you out of your thought. No, you got to keep your thought. Paul is writing to the Jews in Corinth. Acts 18, verse 1 and 2. There were Jews in Corinth. And Paul's a Jew. Acts 22 and 3. We're not going to play any games with these Christians. Chapter and verse. That's why when Paul writes this letter to them, now concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, that's his own brethren, Israelites. He's writing to Israel in Corinth. He's writing to Israelites in Corinth. We're not, brother. Acts 22. Acts 22. And verse 3. Now, I'm just reading this real quick. Acts 22 and 3. Paul says, I am verily a man which am a Jew born in Tarsus, a city in Cilicia, yet brought up in this city at the feet of Gamaliel, and taught according to the perfect manner of the law of the fathers, and was zealous toward God, as ye all are this day. Paul, I am a Jew born in Tarsus. Paul is a Jew. And when we go to Acts 18 and 1, after these things, Paul departed from Athens, which is in Greece, and came to Corinth, which is in Greece, and found a certain Jew. So there was a Jew, a certain Jew in Corinth. The Jews were in Corinth. They were. Corinth, and came to Corinth and found a certain Jew. Jews were in Corinth, named Aquila, born in Pontus, lately come from Italy, with his wife Priscilla, another Jew, because that Claudius had commanded all Jews to depart from Rome, and came unto them. So the Jews were going from Rome to Corinth at that time. They were migrating. So there were Jews in Corinth. So when we go back to 1 Corinthians 12, verse 1, Paul's writing to them. Now concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, I would not have you ignorant. Ye know ye were Gentiles. He just called his brethren, according to the flesh, being Israel, Gentiles. He called his own brethren Gentiles. Don't believe in man above that which is written. There's no way these Christians can prove to you with chapter and verse, according to the law or nowhere else, where nations called other nations brethren. No. Enemies, yeah. Brethren, no. They play that word game with the weak. These brethren Paul is writing to are the Jews in Corinth, his own family, his own tribe of people. The Christian want to try to take that thought from you. You can let them if you want to, but we're going by what's written. Now concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, I will not have you ignorant. Ye know ye were Gentiles. Boom. Paul just called his own brethren, which were of his flesh, Israelites, Gentiles. Why were they Gentiles? Ye know that ye were Gentiles carried away. They were in captivity unto the dumb idols, like Daniel was under Nebuchadnezzar, even as ye were led. They were Gentiles because they were in captivity and worshipped other gods. But the Christians, they're going to hold your feet to the fire. No, it doesn't mean that. No. They're going to try to take you somewhere else. Can't let them do that. Can't let them do that. You cannot let them do that. It must be proven. There's no way when you see verses in the book, when you see verses in the book, and you see, we go to the law here. We go to the law. We're going to go to the law. And once again, we just want to drop a couple of chapters and verses to you. The book of Judges. The book of Judges 14. We're just reading. We're going to read. Now, again, this is Samson. He wanted a Gentile woman to be with. And we don't understand it. But hey, not meant for us to do. But we're picking it up at Judges 14 and 3. I want you to pay attention. Then his father and his mother said unto him, Is there never a woman among the daughters of thy brethren, or among all my people, that thou goest to take a wife of the uncircumcised Philistine, the uncircumcised, one who is not submitted to the Judean rite of circumcision, Gentile. So the uncircumcised was the same as Gentile. Remember that? Philistine. And Samson said unto his father, Get her for me, for she pleaseth me well. Don't know how, but she did. But no, according to the law. Then his father and his mother said unto him, Is there never a woman among the daughters of thy brethren, thy own people, or among all my people, my type, my God, my family, where we're at, that thou goest to take a wife of the uncircumcised with Philistine, which is the Gentile? Notice, brethren, under the law, your brethren was your people. I think Esther is like the best one in the Bible. You cannot be confused with Esther. It says, For Mordecai the Jew was next unto King Ahasuerus, and great among the Jews, and accepted of the multitude of his brethren, seeking the wealth of his people, and speaking peace to all his seed. So his brethren was his people, his seed. According to the law, your brethren is your own people. We will not see brethren being nations. Nations being brethren to each other. Got tongue twisted there. There's no verse in the Bible that's going to tell you that this nation and this nation and this nation and this nation are brethren. No. Your brethren is your own people. As you can see here, it says, and accepted of the multitude of his brethren, seeking the wealth of his people, and speaking peace to all his seed. So his brethren was his people and his seed. No way they can get by this. You can't get by it. There's no getting by it. There's some things that the Christians can't do, and this is one of them. They cannot, by the Bible, prove that your brethren is anybody from any nation that believes on Christ. All that philosophy crap is over with. Your brethren is your people. Son of man, thy brethren. This is Ezekiel 11:15. Son of man, thy brethren, even thy brethren, the men of thy kindred. Just like Paul said, your brethren is the men of your kindred, your own people, seed. That's your brethren. Son of man, thy brethren, even thy brethren, the men of thy kindred, and all the house of Israel, holy are they unto whom the inhabitants of Jerusalem have said, Get ye far from the Lord, unto us this land is given in possession. So they tried to get their brethren out of the way. Right, so that's not what God wanted. But look, thy brethren, even thy brethren, the men of thy kindred is your brethren, your own people. This could never, this should never be confusing. Never be confusing. But it is. They try what the Christians do. is they try to confuse you with words that aren't in the Bible and that you could never see, and that's the part they have to do to control the damage. Your brethren is the men of your kindred. So when we go back, 1 Corinthians 12, verse 1, now concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, I would not have you ignorant. Ye know that ye were Gentiles carried away unto these dumb idols, even as ye were led. The brethren, ye know ye were Gentiles carried away. They keep trying to say that these two verses was something Paul, it was King James and his writers, they didn't interpret it right. Oh, okay. The Bible notes Israelites as Gentiles. You Christians are going to have to accept it, but you won't. You won't, though. I say gonna have to, but you won't. Because you know if you do, we really don't care if you accept it or not. We know Israelites were called Gentiles. The book of Romans. See how we go? We're flowing with this, brothers and sisters. The book of Romans 9. The book of Romans chapter 9. Verse 23. And that he might make known the riches of his glory on the vessels of mercy. Hold on, brothers and sisters. I had to plug up my computer. I forgot it. Sorry about that. And that he might make known the riches of his glory on the vessels of mercy, which he had afore prepared unto glory. Wait a minute. Even us, whom he hath called, not of the Jews only, but also of the northern kingdom. See, that's what they know. The Gentiles is going to be explained in the next verses. These Christians, that's why they do these lives, so they can control the narrative. When it comes to the Gentiles, they always talk about, well, let's read on down. Let's read. No. When you do the reading on down and down and down, you miss the point. That's what they want you to miss. They'll probably have you go all the way to verse 33. Then stop. No, we want it here. We see even us, whom he hath called, not of the Jews only, but also of the Gentiles. He continues, as he also saith in Hosea, I will call them my people which were not my people, and her beloved which was not beloved. Hosea sees something here. I will call thee. The Gentiles were the people that was not his people. That's what it meant, Gentiles. The people that was not his people is what the Gentiles meant. That's what Paul's describing when it says Gentiles. The people, when it says, as he saith also in Hosea, I will call them my people which were not my people. The not my people are Gentiles, because Gentiles are not his people. And her beloved which was not beloved. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people. Not my people are Gentiles. There shall they be called the children of the living God. Why did Paul use this? Why? When it came to the Gentiles, why did Paul use Hosea as an example? Because what was written is what Paul quoted. What's written here is what Paul quoted from Hosea. Hosea. So when we go back to Hosea 1, verse 10, Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea. Children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, Ye are not my people, Gentiles. Gentiles. You Christians aren't debunking us. What you can do is control the damage. This is proving to the people that Gentiles were Israelites scattered and worshiping other gods. That's what it's proving. You can't stop that. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea. Which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, Ye are not my people, there shall it be said unto them, Ye are the sons of the living God. The them is Israel. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea. We know you Christians can read, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, Ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, the them is Israel, Ye are the sons of the living God. The place where it was said unto them, the them is Israel. Ye are not my people, you were Gentiles. There you shall be called the sons of the living God by us, the new prophets of this age. We call ourselves the true Hebrews. We already know, brothers and sisters, there's no debunking anything when it comes to the Gentiles. We know the only thing you can do is avoid it. And that's what these lives are about. These lives are designed for them to narrate, just in case somebody like myself come in and spit the verse after verse. They can say, no, well, let's stay right here. Let's do this. They can control it. They never will debate anybody. They're not debating Hebrews. They're coming up with lies. If any of them was to be in a debate, they would be counseled out. It's all a trick. You can see, I can see. The children of Israel, when it says, and it shall be said unto, and I'm looking at it, and it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, Ye are not my people, the ye that are not his people was the children of Israel. Up at the top of the verse. You can see that. Easy to see. That's why when it says in Jeremiah 16, we get them for you all day if you choose. Jeremiah 16:19. O Lord, my strength and my fortress and my refuge in the day of affliction. The Gentiles shall come unto thee from the ends of the earth. The Gentiles shall come unto thee from the ends of the earth, and shall say, Surely our fathers have inherited lies, vanities, and things wherein there is no profit. It says, the Gentiles shall come unto him from the ends of the earth. The book of Isaiah. Let's see who these people are that's going to come from the ends of the earth. Who's going to come to him from the ends of the earth? The book of Isaiah 43:4. Since thou wast precious in my sight, thou hast been honorable, and I have loved thee. Therefore I will give men for thee and people for thy life. people for thy life. Who is this talking about? Israel. In verse 3. But let's go on down. It says, Isaiah 43:5, fear not, for I am with thee. I will bring thy seed from the east and gather thee from the west. And gather thee from the west. I will say to the north, give up, and to the south, keep not back. Bring my sons from far, and my daughters from the ends of the earth. We already know who's going to be at the ends of the earth. All nations are not at the ends of the earth. Israel is at the ends of the earth, scattered up under Gentile nations, serving their gods. We already know who's at the ends of the earth. Who are we to play the game? These Christians is ruined. That's why it says in the book of Jeremiah, before we go back to Jeremiah 16:19, see, the Israelites are at the end of the earth. Jeremiah 2. In verse 4, it says, hear ye the word of the Lord, O house of Jacob, and all the families of the house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord, what iniquity have your fathers found in me, that they are gone far from me, and have walked after vanity and become vain. That's who walked after vanity and became vain. Vanity. You see that? Israel walked after vanity. So when we go back to Jeremiah 16. Jeremiah 16:19. They're not debunking anybody. They're wasting their time. Damage control, brothers and sisters. That's why it says in Jeremiah 16:19, O Lord, my strength and my fortress, and my refuge in the day of affliction. The Gentiles shall come unto thee from the ends of the earth. Who's at the ends of the earth? You read. It's about what's written. Who was at the ends of the earth was the scattered Israelites. Give us a verse where the nations were at the ends of the earth, you Christians. The mouth is running, but there's no chapter and verse. We're reading this book. O Lord, my strength, my fortress, and my refuge in the day of affliction. The Gentiles shall come unto thee from the ends of the earth. Isaiah 43, 5 and 6 told you who was at the ends of the earth. The scattered sons and daughters of God. And shall say, surely our fathers have inherited lies, vanity. Who inherited the vanity? Israel. And things wherein there is no profit. See, we already know that these Gentiles are those scattered Israelites. It continues to say it. You will not find where all the nations were at the four corners of, no. The ends of the earth is the corners of the earth. As we read in Isaiah 43, 5 and 6, the four corners. That's the ends of the earth. So when you see John 7:35, see, it's too many ways to do this. When you see in John 7:35, John 7:35, when it reads, then said the Jews among themselves, whither will he go, that we shall not find him? Will he go unto the dispersed among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles? The dispersed were Israelites among Gentiles. They were called Gentiles because they were worshiping their gods. That's what Paul was talking about in 1 Corinthians 12, 1 and 2. Brethren, ye were Gentiles carried away into captivity under these dumb idols, even as ye were led. If you got to understand, brothers and sisters, because the Christians do this. And we have heard this over and over again. And what I mean is this. Now, I'm about to take you somewhere, and I want you to pay attention. I want to get the book of Habakkuk, chapter 3. Habakkuk sees something. It's a vision of the end. Here's his story, what he writes. The sun and the moon stood still in their habitation, and the light of thine arrows they went. Looks like war to me. At the end, and at the shining of thy glittering spear. Thou is Christ. Thou didst march through the land in indignation. Thou didst thresh the heathen in anger. Hold on. Who is he going to thresh when he returns? The heathen. He's going to thresh the heathen. Hold up. Thou wentest forth for the salvation of thy people. Thy people now, not all people. Even for the salvation of thine anointed. Also, Israel is his anointed. Thou woundest the head out of the house of the wicked. Esau was called the border of wickedness in Malachi 1 and 4. By discovering the foundation unto the neck. Now notice, it says, thou didst march through the land in indignation. Thou didst thresh the heathen in anger. Thou didst thresh the, usually used for a non-Israelitish people, thus has the meaning of Gentiles. Also the heathen of the Gentiles. So let's look at this. Thou didst march through the land in indignation. Thou didst thresh the Gentiles in anger. So when Christ comes back, he's going to kill Gentiles. Isn't that interesting? When Christ returns, he's going to kill Gentiles. He's going to thresh Gentiles in his anger. See, the problem is he's coming back to thresh Gentiles. When he returns, he's coming back to kill them. Let's look at it again. They don't often talk about who he's going to come back and get. That's why we don't care about what Christians. We don't care what they say because it's too many angles. We're just going to read on down. Psalms 110 and 1. The Lord said unto my Lord, sit thou at my right hand until I make thine enemies thy footstool. Thine enemies thy footstool. Psalms 83. Who is his enemies? According to the text. See, they'll avoid all this. Psalms 83 and 1. A song or psalm of Asaph. Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. Who was it? Drop down to verse 6. I ain't got time to read all that. The tabernacles of Edom. So the tabernacles of Edom. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. Who is the enemies of God again when we drop back down? The tabernacles of Edom. There it is. Edom. And the Ishmaelites, and Moab, and the Hagarenes. Gebal, and Ammon, and Amalek, more Edomites, the Philistines, with the inhabitants of Tyre. As most people say, Tyre or Tyre, whichever one. So the enemies of God are Gentiles, the other nations. Now, go back to Psalms. You can see who the enemies are. Psalms 110. When you put these things together, Psalms 110 and 1, you got to think. The Lord said unto my Lord, sit thou at my right hand until I make thine enemies. Who is his enemies? Edom, Moab, Ammon, Amalek, the Hagarenes, the Ishmaelites, Gentiles, enemies. The Lord shall send the rod of thy strength out of Zion. Rule thou in the midst of thine enemies. Enemies. You can see who the enemies were. Thy people, which is Israel, shall be willing in the day of thy power. Yes, we're going to be willing. And the beauty of holiness from the womb of the morning. Thou hast the dew of thy youth recreated, Israel. The Lord has sworn and will not repent. Thou art a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. Excuse me. The Lord at thy right hand shall strike through kings. The Lord at thy right hand shall strike through kings. Who is the Lord at his right hand? Christ. The Lord at the right hand of the Father is Christ. The Lord at thy right hand shall strike through kings in the day of his wrath. He shall judge among the heathen, the Gentiles. He shall fill the places with dead bodies. He shall wound the heads over many countries. When Christ returns, he's coming back to put judgment to the Gentiles and kill a lot of them. That's the judgment for the Gentiles. Death. But all of a sudden, y'all got to see what this is. You know what's going to happen to the Gentiles. Death is coming to them. Death. Death. So if death is coming to the Gentiles, think about this. If death is coming to the Gentiles according to the Bible, watch Paul in Ephesians chapter 2. Ephesians chapter 2. In verse 11. Ephesians 2:11. Wherefore remember that ye being in times past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision. See, brothers and sisters, we've been letting you know that uncircumcised, one who is not submitted to the Judean rite of circumcision, Gentiles. Uncircumcised, Gentiles. Uncircumcised, Gentiles. Wherefore remember that ye being in times past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision. So the Gentiles were called the uncircumcision. And again in Acts 15, we let you know, Acts 15, beautiful, beautiful chapter, especially this verse here. Acts 15:1. And certain men which came down from Judea taught the brethren, their own people. Their brethren was their own people. They were Jews and they were teaching Jews. And said, except ye be circumcised. So there was uncircumcised Jews. And what is uncircumcision? According to the one who is not submitted to the Judean rite of circumcision, Gentiles. We're not going to be fooling with these Christians. An uncircumcised Jew could be a Gentile. Too many ways. See, that brethren, it lets you know it's his kindred, their kindred. And their kindred were not circumcised. So if their kindred, their brethren are not circumcised, who are they? The uncircumcision. The Jews were called the uncircumcision. The ones that had not repented and went back unto their religion. They were the uncircumcision. And the Christian knows that when you master the understanding of that, that's it. Gentiles don't mean non-Jew or this or that. We're looking at it. Paul tells you what the Gentile, we'll just do it like this. Paul tells you, but they don't want to accept Paul when it comes to this. They don't want to accept Paul when it comes to this. And certain men which came down from Judea taught the brethren and said, except ye be circumcised. The brethren was their own people, and they were uncircumcised among the nations, serving their gods. What we want to prove to you is Jews were of the uncircumcision, like everybody else. That's why Ephesians 2, Paul knew what he was talking about. Ephesians 2, verse 11. Wherefore remember that ye being in times past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision, because these are the uncircumcised Jews, by that which is called circumcision, the circumcised Jews, and the flesh made by hands. Ye were, but watch this, that at that time ye were without Christ, as you were uncircumcised in flesh and heart. You were without Christ, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel, and strangers from the covenants of promise, having no hope, and without God in the world. When Paul says having no hope, we read that the Gentiles are going to be killed in the second coming of Christ. God is going to slay Gentiles when he comes back. Heathen, when he comes back, he's going to slay them. So the Christians came up with a doctrine, oh, well, any Gentile that believes on Christ will be saved. No, none of the Gentiles are going to be saved. None of them. The hope is for Israel. Paul's letting you know that when they were Gentiles, the uncircumcision, at that time you were without Christ. You were without Christ when you were a Gentile, uncircumcised. You did not have him. You were aliens from the commonwealth of your own people and strangers from the covenants of promise. That's what you were. Like he's telling you what the nations are. The nations are without Christ, aliens to the commonwealth of Israel, and strangers from the covenant of promise, having no hope and without God in the world. You don't even have a God in the world. That's why he says having no hope. Notice, having no hope. Joel is gonna magnify it. Joel is gonna magnify it. Joel chapter 3. Again, verse 15. The sun and the moon shall be darkened. He's saying the same thing. He's saying the same thing. Watch this. And the Lord shall roar out of Zion and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the heavens and the earth shall shake, but the Lord will be the hope of his people. During the second coming of Christ, the Lord will be the hope of his people, and only the hope of his people. The Lord will not be the hope of the nations. When he returns, he's going to be the hope of his people and the strength of the children of Israel. So whatever these guys are talking about, I don't know. The Lord is the hope of Israel. But when you were a Gentile, you have no hope. See, it says the Lord will be the hope of his people. His people is Israel. When Christ returns, he's the hope of his people. That's why when it says in Ephesians 2, see, the Bible teaches prophecy for the Lord will be the hope of his people. So when he says that at that time, what time? That you were Gentiles, that were the uncircumcision, you were without Christ, because the Gentiles are without Christ, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel, because they were aliens from the commonwealth, and strangers to the covenants of promise. They had no promise for them. There was no promise that they would come in with Israel, having no hope. See, the Gentiles have no hope, but Israel, they have hope. Because Joel 3:16 let us know that Israel has the hope in that day Christ returns. But the Gentiles have no hope. I'm gonna leave it right there, brothers and sisters. I'm just right now, I'm just talking. This is level 1. I made a podcast just to show you level 1. Not 5, 1. This teaching goes very deep. But they can't even answer the questions from level 1. We're telling you. Christians cannot debunk us when it comes to the Gentiles. We know that the Gentiles were the uncircumcised Israelites Paul is talking about. Paul. The Gentiles Paul went to was his uncircumcised brethren that were out there. He didn't go, there was no proof he went to just anybody from any nation. They want you to believe that they're Gentiles as all people, because if it's not, all nations are not going to be saved. So the time on this earth for Edom is very grievous. That's the problem. We already know, brothers and sisters, we already are sure. The Gentiles were the Israelites scattered, the uncircumcision. That's who Paul went after. Now, all the other ones, no. We're talking about who Paul went after. We're going to keep on going here, brothers and sisters, over and over again. We don't care how it turns out. You Christians are not debunking us. What you can do is you can reject the verses or hide or try to go somewhere else. But you are not dealing with the verses that we're dealing with. You're running from them. And as long as you keep running, more people are going to leave that brick building on the corner. And with that, brothers and sisters, all praises. All praises. Be back with you shortly.